Welcome to Spotlight Television. I'm Damon Roberts. In the highly competitive world of the small to mid-sized business, 2023 will be the year to gain an advantage with fractional executives. With economic uncertainty in the air, companies of all sizes are reconsidering their hiring strategies and mitigating risks with fractional hires. If you are an entrepreneur and you're growing, you need this conversation, and I have just the guy for you today. I'm here today with Eric Torigian, the founder of CHRO Solutions. Eric is an accomplished global HR executive and chief people officer, recognized as a highly effective business leader. He has 20 plus years of global experience driving organizational performance through strategic HR leadership, and he is a fractional HR pioneer. Eric, welcome to Spotlight Television. How are you?
Thanks, Damon. Happy to be here. Love the work you guys do.
Oh, thank you very much. It's great to have you here. I think the audience is going to be very fascinated with this, especially businesses across the country who obviously will watch this interview. But let's start at the very basics here. What is fractional HR? And tell me a little bit about your history and how you got into this.
Yeah, it's a great question, really, and it lays down such a foundation. Because when you think about fractional HR, what you're getting is literally just that. You're getting a part of an executive, but there's really so much more to it. This is about mid to small size companies managing risk by driving organizational effectiveness through some senior leaders, right? If you're running a small business and you go out and tell me, I'm going to go hire a CHRO and I'm going to go get this person who's got all this experience and background and worked for Pepsi and NBC Universal and Comcast and Ford Motor Company, I'm going to tell you, no, don't do it, because you're going to put so much administrative drag on your company that you're going to lose your ability to adapt. But what I will tell you to do is get that leadership, get that thought leadership, get that experience on the team. And fractional HR is just a great way to do it.
Yes, let's talk about your market a little bit. That's a good layout of kind of what you guys do. So who do you serve, though? What is your vision for how CHR Solutions can help whatever that target market is? So first, tell me the target market, and then tell me about how you guys kind of focus what you do on that target market.
Yeah, we have two markets where we primarily look to go. So the first one is this mid to small size business. So typically this is someone with $100 million in revenue or below. They probably have 1,000 employees or less. It's a founder. This founder started this company, or maybe that's the son or daughter of the founder who started the company, or they've purchased some business, or they took a grouping of businesses and put them together, and they're really getting ready to take that next step. They probably have a CFO. They probably have some leadership around the finance and strategy setting. What they typically don't have is anyone leading their people strategy. I have seen many of them using PEOs, or professional employee organizations, or they use their payroll company, or they have their benefits being done by a benefits broker, and their 401k is being led by an insurance provider. And no one is setting a strategy for them. No one is really laying out and saying, here's what our 5-year business strategy looks like. And this is the people processes that we have to do to get there. Our second market is private equity. And we work a lot with the private equity teams across their portfolio. We're very, very good at driving organizational effectiveness to pull costs out. And we're really good at taking these portfolio, and really, what's private equity do? They go find underperforming portfolio companies, purchase them, clean up the management, clean up their processes, and turn around and then resell them. And they can continue doing this. But at the end of the day, what they're doing is creating stronger companies as a result of this. They're typically very good on the finance side. They're very good on the operations side. Where we've seen them lag is on the people processes and on the HR side. So that's a second market that we really come in and address.
Obviously, there's a lot in the news about worker shortage, and there's all kinds of things right now in the news about obviously worker shortage. You're seeing, as you see, everything we've gone through in the last couple of years have put companies, and some of them in positions they've never been in before. Companies of all sizes obviously have discovered that the most important asset their company can have is their employees. And you just kind of laid out two different scenarios there. But let's talk about on the low end. Is there any business that's too small to have HR?
No, not at all. And matter of fact, I work with a few startups who have 2 people. Maybe it's a founder and a co-founder. And now's the time for them to start to lay out what they're going to do and how they're going to do it. So when you're going pre-seed and you're pre-fund and you're starting all your funding rounds, you want to have a really good HR processes laid out. I work with companies that are 5 to 15 employees. I have one company that's 900 employees, one that's in the thousands of employees. So we're really across the board. The important thing is that you recognize that you want to mitigate risk, you want to manage your people at a high level, and you're looking for solutions to those problems.
Now, much of your work is centered around something called the HR operating system. So let's talk about this a little bit. What is it? And then how do businesses implement it?
Yeah, so what you see there is a little nod to my background. I started out as a computer programmer, and then I had a lot of engineering and marketing in my background. I am probably much more of an operations person than most HR people you're ever going to meet. As a matter of fact, in the past, I've had employees tell me, "Oh, I always thought you were the COO." I laid out a set of processes. So what the HR operating system is a standardized set of processes, tools, and strategies that any business can use to run their people processes. It's built around what we call a modern service delivery model. So it's all around how are you going to engage your team and then really do three things. And every CEO I've worked with over the past 30 years has looked for three key things from HR. How do you attract, develop, and retain a high performance team? So if you can do those three things for me, that's what I need. So the HR operating system, or the HROS, is a very simplified framework. Most entrepreneurs didn't go into business to be good at HR. I did, right? So this is a tool that they can just plug in, play, follow the steps, and not quite this simple, but no brainer. Follow these processes, and you can have a world-class HR system.
So kind of a roadmap, let's say. Very interesting. All right, let's get to the main question that I'm sure a lot of people who are watching this are going to have. So when a business contracts with a fractional executive, does the business incur any kind of HR-related costs? Let's talk about recruiting, PTO, employee benefits. Is any of that a concern on the fractional side of hiring?
So that's where the magic really lies. When the business interacts with us, they come in and partner with CHRO Solutions. They get a fixed fee structure. They know what their fees are going to be. They can predict them. They can manage against them. We take on all those costs, and we hire multiple people, and then you get a fraction of those people. So you get to spread those risks across a group of people. It's a lot like buying a mutual fund. You can go out there and buy all these individual stocks, but now you need to go manage all of that. You're taking on the risk, and you're taking on all the expenses. Why not just go to someone who knows what they're doing? Let them put this package together. Just purchase the package.
Okay, let's talk about the upper end of the scale. Now, obviously, C-level executives, proven experience. These are the kind of people that are exceptionally high demand, meaning obviously, though, that they come at a much greater cost to the company. How does the fractional model that we're talking about help smaller companies acquire those kind of people with those kind of skills?
And again, there's a lot of beauty in this answer to this question, because what you get is access to that level of thought leadership, that level of experience, that level of strategic thinking at a fraction of the cost. So you can go out and buy. You don't have to go spend $300,000 plus benefits. Every employee you hire, you can take their base salary and multiply it by 1.4. That's what we in HR call the fully burdened cost of hiring an employee. So you hire an employee for $300,000. That employee is actually going to cost you an additional $120,000 in benefits and insurance and all the other things that come along with it. You add bonuses, that could be another 20, 30%. So real quickly, this $300,000 executive can start to cost you upwards of $400,000, $500,000, $600,000. You also have to keep this person fully utilized. And let's face it, typically what you're talking about is a type A person. And these people are moving very, very fast. They like to have a lot of challenges in front of them. And not to say that a small to mid-sized business is not challenging. It can be some of the most exciting places in the world. but it's going to use a fraction of their capabilities. So why not just buy that fraction?
Yeah.
You will get to a point in your curve where you want to build and grow, and you may start to hire these people permanently, but don't do it initially.
Yeah, it's such a timely conversation because as I've been listening to even some of these conference calls on some of, you're seeing Facebook doing these reportings, you're seeing some of these big tech companies reporting it. And this is one of the things they're talking about, streamlining some of their talent. Because as you said, you hire somebody, most people don't realize you hire somebody for, let's just say, $100,000 salary. It probably cost that company to keep that person 150, maybe even 175. And this is very timely because you're hearing a lot of this conversation in these corporate conference calls of these CEOs when they're asked, well, what are you guys doing? Why are you letting so many people off? And they're trying to explain how they're trying to streamline their upper end C-level executives and trying to get some of these costs in line, just kind of what you're talking about.
Well, let me give you a little peek under the tent. Here's the conversations that are happening in the C-suite, right? And I've been part of these now for so many years. I tell you exactly what those conversations are, and you could put almost any company name in front of this. Okay, so we have a certain amount of uncertainty in the economy right now, and it's always there, but it's probably higher now than it's been in the past. And you could just listen to the State of the Union, and there's so much emphasis, and we don't really know where things are going to go. And there's the ability for it to swing wildly. Okay, well, that's what we call risk. So what do you do now? Everyone says, well, I want to mitigate risk. Well, you don't mitigate risk. Risk never goes away. What you do is you manage risk. Okay, so how do I best manage risk now as an organization? Well, what you need to do is you need to keep nimble enough to where you can call the line at the play. So we are almost walking up to the line of scrimmage. We're looking at the play. We're looking at the defense, and we're calling the line. We're calling the play right there at the line. So that's what businesses need to be able to do. So to do that, you need to be nimble. So what happens now when you go load up and you start to hire all of this talent? Yes, you get something for that. You want to go develop a new technology, you have to load up, you have to hire the talent. You make these make-buy decisions, you do different analysis. But when you start to buy talent, what you get is what I like to call administrative drag, because now I've got all this burden and it makes it harder for me to adjust and adapt. So again, using that football analogy, it's the personnel on the field. So you want to have a flexible enough package where you can make any call. So the more you can take this administrative drag and risk out of the system, the better off you're able to adapt and adjust. And that's what makes you more nimble. That's how you manage risk. And that's what makes you look like a genius, right? So you didn't know anything. Maybe some people guess right. Did the goalie go right? Did the goalie go left? Who knows? It's so hard to guess. But what you have to do is be able to adapt quickly. And that's where we're seeing in our clients, they really appreciate the fact that we can take all of that administrative compliance, we take all of that off their plate. Don't worry about any of that anymore. Now, we can get down to where we can set a strategy, give you the ability to adjust at the last minute, give you the ability to adapt, and give you the ability to align to wherever the economy, wherever the markets are headed.
So let's talk about something that I'm sure you've noticed it. I certainly have noticed it driving around in the car. You turn on the radio, you're hearing a lot more of these commercials where the person poses a problem. Oh, I just had this. Oh, go to HR. Oh, I just had this. Oh, go to HR. You're hearing a lot of these commercials now about pushing these HR issues and companies that are dealing with them. Tell the audience about maybe some of the concerns with some of those ads, listening to them, and any common misconceptions about HR that maybe you could dispel here for the audience.
Yeah, so really, I got a couple points I want to make here. One of my first, let me touch on my biggest pet peeve about HR is HR, for some reason, has been a marginalized function over time. So already you're kind of in the game with a little bit of marginalization from the rest of the C-suite team. You also have a group of people now who are they're risk adverse. So they're in these marginal roles, they're a bit risk averse. And then they say things like, well, I want my seat at the table, which that's my pet peeve. I can't stand it when people say that, because there's no such thing as being given a seat at the table. You have to go and engage yourself into the business. You go and engage in the business, you go become part of the business, and you know what? You'll be part of the business. And you have to be in there, you have to be engaged, you have to ask questions, you have to interact, you have to learn, you have to grow. and people will teach you as you come along. They know you're not an engineer, but that's fine. There's room for everyone to be part of this. And organizations need everyone as part of this decision-making team. The second thing that really frustrates me with HR is many people see HR as a compliance function. And they'll say things to you like, well, it's my job to keep us out of the newspaper. It's my job to keep us from being sued. It's my job to keep all of this compliance things done. But I'll challenge you to say, no, it's not. Yes, compliance matters. And there's a baseline of things we have to do. My very first boss at Ford Motor Company in the Ford Steel operations, early 90s, sat me down. He said, and I'll never leave my head, the one thing you can't do is screw up someone's paycheck. Got it, right? That is the most important thing. So you got to do these things. But that's just the price of entry. HR exists for a much bigger purpose in an organization. We're there to strategically align. It's our job to look at the business plan and understand who's going to get us there, how are they going to get us there, and what tools or development are they going to need to make that happen. And the better we can enable that discussion, the better the organization can be. And then the third thing that scares me about HR is there is a huge reliance right now, especially in talent acquisition, on artificial intelligence. And I know AI is all the rage right now, and ChatGPT, and we're going to have to figure this discussion out. What I don't like about it is we have allowed artificial intelligence to take the humans out of talent acquisition. And talent acquisition is much more than just hiring people. Talent acquisition is actually the tip of your marketing spear. So your talent acquisition team has more contact with your customers than your marketing team does. So what I tell employers to do is, number one, build this employment value proposition. So why should I even join your company? So I come join your company, I work there for 4 or 5 years. What happens to me as a result of that? Yes, I get paid, I get my benefits, but how else do I grow? How else do I develop? Who will I be 4 years from now that's different than who I am today? What's your learning culture look like? There's a contract there between employer and employee. You're going to come and you're going to bring your best. You're going to bring strategy. You're going to add value to the company. We need to add value back to you. Once you have that figured out, now your talent acquisition team goes into the market, and those are the conversations they're having. And there's another term for candidate, and that's customer, right? So those are your customers or your customers' customers. So you really have to focus on that. And I think that this big push right now to have artificial intelligence take over talent acquisition, that scares me a lot as a leader. And remember, it's attract, develop, retain.
Wow, what a conversation this has been. Let me ask you something. Who should be reaching out to you? Who's watching this? Is it like you described those two markets, those sub-markets of who you're working with? Who's watching this right now and says, man, I need to get more information about what these guys are doing because he's speaking to me? Who is that person right now?
So right now, that's the CEO, the founder, the co-founder. It's the COO. It's the C-suite. It's the CHRO who wants to develop and grow. It's the CFO who recognizes that this is growing beyond their capabilities to lead. It's any of those folks. We can do so much for organizations. We just want to have that discussion. And sometimes it leads to an engagement. Sometimes it doesn't. And that's fine too. Really, my mission and the reason I started this was I truly believe that everybody should have a great experience at work. As you could tell, I love what I do. Every day I come into work, I am having fun. And I love it. I love what I do. I mean, some days are harder than others, but it's still good and I like it. I want everybody to have that experience. That's what drove me into HR in the first place, is people need an advocate and people need someone who can create this environment where they can be the best versions of themselves. And then people need to sometimes be pushed to grow. And that's why I think the developmental system.
Yeah.
So that's the vision behind what I'm trying to do here.
Well, I mean, the knowledge is incredible. Your energy obviously just jumps off the screen. I think people will realize that. Any other goals you're talking about what's driving you to do this every day? Any other goals that you want people to know, or any goals for 2023? And I definitely want you to give, obviously, your website, your information, where people can get a hold of you. Obviously, we'll link all that in the description of the video as well. But give everybody out there, and maybe those people who you just described who are sitting there listening, who need that little extra push to get in touch, tell everybody where they can get a hold of you.
Well, my number one thing that I want those people to hear is don't try to go it alone. HR is hard. HR is a big challenge in your organization. You didn't go there to become good at HR. Don't try to go it alone. Reach out for help. We're here. We'll help you. We'll have these conversations with you. We'll have these discussions with you. If you go to my website, and I know you're going to post the link, it's CHRO Solutions. You got to put the -US in there, .com. There's a set of free tools. You can learn about the HR operating system, HROS framework. There is an HR blueprinting tool there. You can take it. It's 15, 25-minute long session. You go through, you answer some questions about your business. At the end, it's going to spit out a score, and it's going to tell you. And I can't tell you if a 70 is good and a 71 is bad or a 68 is worse. There's really no measure to what that means from that point. But what it's going to do is show you places where you can make changes. And you'll get a roadmap that's going to say, hey, maybe you want to improve this part of your business, or maybe you need to look over here at this. And then there's some engagement calls we can have, and let's talk about it. And I can help you, or you can go get your help elsewhere. It's all about having that discussion. And my number one thing, I'll say it again, is you didn't go into this to be good at HR. Don't try to do this alone. Just get some help. We're here for you. We have a big team. We're happy to help you.
We've been speaking with Eric Torigian, founder of CHRO Solutions. Again, online, www.chrosolutions-us.com. It'll be linked below. So much great information, really inspirational, informational. Eric, you've been fantastic. I hope people reach out to you. Again, CHRO Solutions-us.com. Check them out if you want more information. Eric, this has been great. I've learned a lot myself. And I hope people reach out to you, and I want to thank you for joining us on Spotlight Television.
Well, thank you, Damon. It was a pleasure to be here. I love the work that you guys do, so to be included in that is a humbling experience.
All right, folks, that's going to do it. Again, I want to thank you for joining us as you do each and every week right here on Spotlight Television. I'm Damon Roberts, and until next time, I'll see you next on Spotlight Television.